Welcome to Mighty KO, this is Red, and one championship, one on TNT, one just finished, so let's talk about it. Okay, to be honest, the first card of one championship to be shown directly to North America was a chaotic mess. From scheduling mishaps to controversies regarding the rules, and we'll be talking about all of them. So the first thing that we need to get out of the way is what the hell happened to the first two fights. Almost a week ago, or just less than a week ago, the two fights that were supposed to lead the card was Medi Bargi versus Rug and Rade Opacic versus Patrick Schmidt. Unfortunately, on the kickboxing side, Rade Opacic tested for COVID-19 when he landed in Singapore. There was a lot of controversy regarding the test because the test that he took before he got on the plane said he was negative. The test that he got when he landed in Singapore said he was positive, and Opacic took a bunch more tests, but none of them conclusively said that he was negative for the virus, and he had to be pulled out. Medi Bargi pulled out of his own fight with Rug for undisclosed reasons. I haven't seen any news or declarations from his team explaining why he had to pull out. So one championship, almost a day out from fight day, was in a really big pickle, losing two of their first leading fights. Their solution was to move Patrick Schmidt down to face Rug and then create an entirely new fight out of basically thin air to replace Opacic and Schmidt. There was also the issue of scheduling, because I can't confirm this since I wasn't able to catch the card live, but according to these tweets by JLP Sunnen, the One Championship marketing team gave the wrong start time for the card. Yeah, that's bad. It's really bad. Now let's talk about the fights. First of all, congratulations to Rug. That was a great fight. He fully deserved the win, but unfortunately I can't give him any more credit other than that. Unfortunately, because of the circumstances surrounding the fight, his opponent was a kickboxer that was getting ready for another kickboxer, and he was fully unprepared to face wrestling and ground and pound. To his credit though, Rug did put Schmidt on the back foot with strikes that eventually led to the takedown, but then again, he was finished by the wrestling and the ground and pound. So we still don't know how good Patrick Schmidt actually is when it comes to kickboxing, and unfortunately we still have no idea how good Rug actually is as a mixed martial artist, since both of his wins came off of guys that weren't really that impressive to begin with. I really don't want to take away from Rug's success. He is 2-0 in a major MMA promotion, but I feel like until he goes up against another man with actual fighting credentials or an actual name, I see him more as a male version of Ritu Phogat. That is a fighter with an impressive record, but taking a closer look at that record, many people will discover that he has empty stats. So I would advise Rug's management team to push for a big name as quickly as possible to legitimize the hype surrounding him right now. The second fight is the kickboxing match that One Championship magically pulled out of thin air, and that is Chingin Alazov versus Enrico Kell. And I have to give props to the One Championship team for this one, because it is a perfect fight, especially to come about the way it did. It's almost as if it was destined to be here and nothing was going to stop it from taking over. I think it'll take second place next to the Rodtang fight for my fight of the night vote, if not taking the fight of the night outright. I'm still 50-50 on that. Enrico Kell versus Chinkin Alazov is actually a rematch that's been 5 years in the making, so there's that inbuilt drama right off the bat. And as soon as the fight starts, it is non-stop activity, as in non-stop. Both Kell and Alazov moved forward, they threw kicks, they threw punches, they took kicks, they took punches, and they never slowed down, they never took a rest. This was an amazing fight, and neither one of them gave up. This is literally the kind of fight that a lot of fight fans actually started watching MMA for, or started watching combat sports for. This is as pure a fight as it can get, and unfortunately it got overshadowed by a lot of the other stuff that happened during the card. If you are going to watch one championship other than TNT I, make it this one. This will make you love kickboxing, this will make you love combat sports, and there's really nothing bad I can say about this card. Good job Enrico Kell, good job Chinkin Alisov, good job matchmakers, good job One Marketing Team, good job One Championship. This was knocked right out of the park. The last fight of the lead card is between welterweight title contender Tyler McGuire and Raymond Magomedaliev, and this fight featured two wrestlers that didn't wrestle a lot. It might as well have been a Muay Thai fight for at least half the entire fight. It was a definite battle of game plans between the two, because Tyler McGuire's game plan was pretty obvious from the get-go. He would go for the takedown, achieve top position, pressure, and ground and pound. Magomedaliev, on the other hand, had a pretty novel approach to the fight, and that he decided that he would not go to his wrestling and would rather play a Muay Thai clinch game and just pepper Tyler McGuire's body and head with knees, and that worked a lot in his favor throughout the entire fight, as Tyler's striking defense really wasn't able to cope with the attacks that Magomedaliev kept throwing at him. The only time that McGuire was able to actually carry out his game plan was in the third round, and by that time Magomedaliev was already way ahead of the scorecards, and the finish was McGuire's only hope of actually winning the fight. It also didn't help that McGuire sustained a cut over his left eye early in the first round, and he was a bloody mess by the time the fight ended. He was painting the canvas with his own blood. He was dripping all over Magomedaliev's back. He was smearing his own arm with his own blood. It was a mess. One thing that I can say about Tyler McGuire, though, is that you cannot question this man's heart. Even though he was noticeably, visibly tired, fatigued, bleeding all over the place, he never let up. He always kept moving forward. He always kept up the pressure. It's almost as if he was a machine that, though it was on its last fumes, it still kept moving forward, and you can't help but admire that kind of grit and heart in a fighter. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the win this time, but I will be looking forward to another fight featuring Tyler McGuire, if not just for that grit and heart that he showed here tonight. Raymond Magomedaliev gets another fight in the win column, and considering how shallow the welterweight division is right now, I won't be surprised if the champion Cameron Absav is within his striking range after this win. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the last three fights out of order, because I want to save the most controversial for last. So in this next one, we'll be talking about Rodtang versus Daniel Williams. So this fight is one that was most spot on for me, prediction-wise, because it didn't really change fighters, and it went almost exactly the way I thought it would. Rodtang took everything Daniel Williams had and just ran. He is the Iron Man. He basically can tank anything. There's nothing in this world that can hurt the guy. He's really scary and skilled, and I don't really see him being challenged seriously in any way in this weight class. With that being said, we should have a modicum of respect for Daniel Williams, since he did come into the fight on short notice and fought the way he did. There aren't a lot of people that are willing to stand toe-to-toe with Rodtang the way he did. They wouldn't stand in front of the Iron Man while they were bleeding like that. It really takes a special kind of guy to keep fighting while basically being blinded by their own blood. Actually, if you look at the fight, Daniel's blood actually starts bothering Rodtang more than Daniel did. You can see at one point that Rodtang calls on the referee to stop the fight just a tad so he can wipe the blood off his fingers, because he can't get a good hold of Daniel Williams. in the clinch. Anyway, good. Congratulations on Rodtang for winning the fight. Congratulations on Daniel for making a good impression on everyone. I sure hope that we'll see both of these fighters again. I hope to see Daniel against someone closer to his own skill level at this point. And, you know, like I said in the other video, gradually work his way back up to Rodtang. He's obviously not at that level yet, but, you know, with that heart and chin that he showed, he definitely has potential to reach the top. The next fight we'll be talking about is actually the main event, Adriano Moraes versus Demetrius Johnson, and this one was an absolute shocker. But like I said in the last video, this is not as big a shock for people who are fans of One Championship, because again, we have seen Adriano Moraes before. We've seen what we can do, and you know, while we are as surprised as everyone else, we're not like what? We're not. It doesn't destroy our world or our perception or anything. We knew he could do it. We knew he had the tools to do it. We knew he had the drive to do it. The only question was whether he could pull it off or not, and he answered that question. One Championship has the only guy that's ever finished Demetrius Johnson in a fight, and that's a big accomplishment. That's a big feather in both the caps of Moraes and the organization as a whole. Now, to address the controversy regarding knees on grounded opponents, this really isn't a non-issue for anyone who has watched One Championship and anyone who's followed DJ's career in One Championship. Grounded knees to an opponent, or knees to a grounded opponent rather, are legal in One Championship, has always been legal, and you know, it's really a non-issue for everyone involved. Even DJ defended knees to a grounded opponent in his post-fight interview, and actually used the same technique in his debut. So having the same technique used on him in his championship fight is almost poetic in a way. And again, it's really a non-issue. There are people online that are arguing that such a technique should be illegal everywhere, including One Championship, because it's unsafe. Well, it's illegal in the UFC, and now their flyweight champion is Aljamain Sterling. So, is the UFC better for having that rule? No, that's not. No, they're not. It's really a dumb thing to make illegal. What's the difference between Jorge Masvidal knocking Ben Askren out for 5 minutes with the same knee? The only difference is Ben was like halfway to the ground, so it doesn't count. What is that? It makes no sense. Is our knees less dangerous when the opponent is upright? Because Rich Franklin versus Anderson Silva proved that wrong. They're just as devastating standing up or lying or on the ground. Having them illegal on the ground is like, it just makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. So congratulations to Adriano. I wasn't betting on him to win, but I knew that he could do it. And now One Championship has an elevated sort of reputation, at least in the lighter divisions, the lighter weight classes, that this is the promotion to be in. Flyweights never got respect in the UFC, never have, never will, in my opinion. And in One Championship, there is a viable option for them, you know? So yeah, One Championship, great for the small guys, so come on over, I guess. Now we arrive at the most contentious fight of the night, the one that everyone's talking about. Eddie Alvarez's disqualification loss to Yuri Lapicus in the co-main event of the night. So first of all, this segment is not meant to disparage Eddie Alvarez in any way. He seemed remorseful about the result of the fight, and during his post-fight interview, he was very worried about the safety and health of Yuri Lapicus, and I respect him for that. Concern for your opponent is something that we should always treasure in our fighters, since it is a business. It is a very dangerous business, and no one is looking to actually hurt anyone inside the cage, as in permanently going to the hospital or any of that. So this is nothing on Eddie. His character is pristine, and his class really showed in his concern for Yuri in the post-fight interview. What I will take issue with is the reaction of the greater internet and the MMA community as a whole to the decision. There are several factions or sections of the internet that are taking both One Championship and the referee to task for the way the fight turned out. And every single one that I found after rewatching the fight, after watching selected clips of the fight are wrong. All of them are wrong. The referee was completely right in his decision. The referee did everything in his power to protect Yuri and preserve the fight, but things turned out the way they did, unfortunately. So in this segment, instead of talking about my thoughts on the fight, since there wasn't really much of a fight, to be honest, we'll be talking about all of the arguments that the internet has brought forth to slander the performance of this referee and debunk every single one of them. As far as I can tell, there are three major arguments for the debacle that happened at the end of this fight. One, Eddie Alvarez did not land any illegal blows. Two, the referee did not give Eddie Alvarez prior notice for disqualifying him. And three, Yuri Lapicus turned his head towards the blows and just basically play acted his injury in order to escape with a DQ win. A quick review of the replay of the last moments of the fight clearly shows Eddie landing right on the back of the head, so this completely invalidates the first argument. In this replay, you can see Eddie hitting the back of the neck more than 5 times, so the first argument is already null and void. In order to debunk the second argument and third, we only have to watch the exact same clip with sound, so here you go.
It's early in the round. Watch the back of the head. Hey! Strike the back of the head! No, don't strike the back of the head! Let's go! Stop! Time! Back of the head! Back of the head, let's go!
So you can clearly hear the referee giving Eddie multiple warnings in the first shots that Eddie landed on Lapicus's head, and more disturbingly than that, you can hear the impact of Eddie's punches to the back of Lapicus's head. So those weren't a joke. Those were actual full power punches to the back of somebody's head. And midway through, on maybe the third and fourth punches, you can hear Lapicus start screaming that he's getting hurt by these things. There's a second argument debunked. The referee gave Eddie a bunch of warnings for his violations, and Lapicus was definitely not play acting. He is actually getting hurt by these things. There's a definite discussion about how culpable Lapicus is for the predicament that he found himself in. He did willingly turn his head in a way that exposed it to Eddie Alvarez's punches, but my argument is that what he did is similar to turtle position. And if turtle position seems okay to most fight fans, then what Lapicus did should not be seen in a different light. But that's just me. Anyway guys, these are my thoughts on One Championship's first North American card. It is definitely not the ideal card or event that One Championship hoped it would be. There were matters with scheduling, with the different time zones and all that, and this double controversy that will definitely haunt future cards, depending on how well or how badly they follow it up with TNT 2, 3, and 4. But we'll have to see those next few cards to accurately judge One Championship's foray into the North American market and whether they're a viable rival for UFC and Bellator. Anyway guys, that's gonna be it for me. This has been Mighty KO. My name is Red, and I will see you on the next card. Peace.